Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins reunite to destroy Jacob Fatu and the Vision. The night Monday Night Raw changed forever. Seth Rollins walked into the most dangerous situation on Monday Night Raw, a six-man tag match where Paul Heyman's Vision were systematically dismantling Joe Hendry and the Street Profits, and he did not walk to the ring. He exploded through the curtain like a man who has been sitting in the back for 3 weeks watching everything he built get stolen, everything he earned get dismissed, and every person who wronged him celebrate on his television screen. He attacked Braun Breaker from behind. He cost the Vision the match. He stood in the middle of that ring with fire in his eyes and a message that every single person watching on Netflix worldwide received loud and clear: Seth Rollins is done waiting, done being patient, done letting the people who destroyed his WrestleMania dreams walk around Monday Night Raw without consequences. And on the exact same night that Jacob Fatu was putting Roman Reigns through an announce table and licking the World Heavyweight Championship like it already belonged to him, the two most dangerous, most historically connected, most unresolved forces on Monday Night Raw were simultaneously making statements that are now pointed directly at each other. And what happens when those two forces finally stop circling and actually collide against Fatu and the Vision in the same ring on the same night is going to be the most electric, most historically loaded, most personally devastating television that WWE has produced since The Shield put on their riot gear for the last time. And you need to hear every single word of this story because the pieces are all on the board right now. Let us start with what Seth Rollins actually did on May 11th. Because the moment itself, the interference, the Braun Breaker attack, the Street Profits victory needs to be understood in the context of everything Rollins has lost over the last several months before you can truly feel the full weight of what he is building toward. Rollins is still stewing over everything he lost after he was forced to vacate the World Heavyweight title last year. The Visionary seeks to exact revenge on Breaker because he is the reason he didn't get his hand raised at WrestleMania this year. On the surface, that's a reference to his loss to Gunther, but he's also lamenting about the moment that keeps eluding him. Call now, https://kielnow.com/wwe/results-winners-march-30-202603, the moment that keeps eluding him. That phrase cuts to the absolute core of Seth Rollins' entire 2026 narrative. Because this is not simply a man who lost a match at WrestleMania. This is a man who had the World Heavyweight Championship, who vacated it due to injury, who came back with everything: the fire, the preparation, the ring work, the promos, and had his WrestleMania moment stolen not once but twice by Braun Breaker. First the shoulder injury that cost him the belt, then the interference at WrestleMania 42 that handed Gunther the victory. Seth Rollins has been the best performer on Monday Night Raw for the better part of 3 years, and the universe keeps finding new ways to take the payoff from him at the last possible second. Just as Braun Breaker prepared to end the match with a devastating spear, Seth Rollins made a shocking appearance, attacking Breaker from behind. The distraction allowed Angelo Dawkins to roll up Austin Theory for a massive upset victory, leaving the Vision fuming. International Business Times, https://www.ibtimes.co.uk/John-Cena-WWE-wrestlemania-42-host-1789425, The Vision fuming. Braun Breaker standing in that ring with Paul Heyman beside him, watching the Street Profits celebrate, watching Seth Rollins disappear back through the crowd, understanding in real time that the man they dismissed, the man Breaker called the best in the world at being number 2, is not going to stay in the background and accept that verdict quietly. Seth Rollins does not accept verdicts. He appeals them, loudly, physically, and with absolutely no regard for the personal safety of anyone who stands between him and what he believes is rightfully his. Breaker is coming off an impressive win over Seth Rollins at Backlash, though Paul Heyman and Theory made their presence felt with timely interference. With what happened at Backlash, it would not be surprising if Rollins makes his presence felt and gets revenge on the Vision. Yahoo Sports, https://sports.yahoo.com/wrestling/breaking-news/article/John-Cena-for-hyphen-WWE-for-422-171135219.html, interference. At Backlash, Paul Heyman's fingerprints all over a championship match that Rollins arguably won cleanly on merit. Theory provided the distraction. Heyman provided the strategy. Breaker provided the spear that ended it. And now on Raw, Rollins returned the favor. He disrupted their match. He cost them the victory. He delivered the message that this feud is nowhere near finished and that the Vision will not be allowed to move forward without paying the full price for everything they did at Backlash. But here is where this story goes from a standard revenge narrative into something genuinely historic. Because Seth Rollins attacking the Vision on May 11th happened on the same episode of Raw that Jacob Fatu demolished Roman Reigns during the acknowledgement ceremony. WWE Raw traveled to Knoxville, Tennessee, following WWE Backlash 2026. Despite Roman Reigns' successful World Heavyweight Championship defense against Jacob Fatu, their feud is clearly far from over. Even after his defeat, Fatu still looks like an absolute force of nature. TJR Wrestling, https://tjrwrestling.net/news/brock-lesnars-demand-backstage-issues-in-WWE, 2 stories. Same night. Same building. Seth Rollins going to war with the Vision. Roman Reigns being destroyed by Jacob Fatu. And the question that has been burning through every wrestling conversation since that Raw went off the air is the same question that has been quietly building since the moment Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins crossed paths in that backstage corridor and Rollins said 4 words: "You are in my way." What happens when these two former Shield brothers stop being rivals circling each other from a distance and start being the two most dangerous men in the building moving in the same direction? Reigns and Rollins have been linked since their debut as the Shield and the chair shot that ended it. However, they've been circling each other since they reignited their longtime feud ahead of Royal Rumble in 2022. Their unresolved animosity remained as compelling as ever when Rollins sacrificed himself to help Cody Rhodes dethrone him at WrestleMania 40. Call now, https://KLNow.com/WWE/results-winners-March-30-202603. The chair shot that ended the Shield. June 2, 2014. Seth Rollins stood in the middle of the ring with a steel chair and he drove it into the backs of both Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose and ended the most dominant faction of that era in a single act of calculated betrayal. 12 years of professional wrestling history, feuds and title matches and triple threats and WrestleMania moments all trace their roots back to that chair shot. Everything between these two men lives in the shadow of that moment. And now as they stand on opposite sides of Monday Night Raw, both burning with fury toward different targets, the possibility of them standing together, unified against a common enemy, is so charged with history and complexity and barely contained tension that the crowd does not know whether to cheer it or be terrified of it. Because here is the truth that every Shield historian knows. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins together are not just a tag team, they are the two halves of the most complete destruction machine professional wrestling has ever assembled. The Shield was a dominant force in 6-man tag team matches with an undefeated televised streak lasting from December 2012 to May 2013, during which they scored a victory at WrestleMania 29. In May 2013 at Extreme Rules, all 3 members of the Shield won a championship simultaneously. Wrestling World, https://www.wrestling-world.com/news/new/wwe/39796/backstage-WWE-s-WWE-future, that undefeated streak, that WrestleMania victory, that simultaneous championship moment, built on the foundation of these two men's specific, complementary, devastatingly effective partnership. Roman Reigns' raw physical power. Seth Rollins' unpredictable aerial brilliance. Together before the betrayal, before the title reigns, before the years of personal warfare, they were genuinely unstoppable. And now consider the targets. Jacob Fatu and the Vision. 2 forces currently operating at the highest possible level of destruction on Monday Night Raw. Jacob Fatu, a man who has put Roman Reigns through announce tables on consecutive weeks, who licked a championship belt on his way out of an acknowledgement ceremony, who has never been stopped without extreme circumstances and is currently operating like a man who has decided consequences do not apply to him. And the Vision, Braun Breaker, Austin Theory, and Logan Paul under Paul Heyman's strategic guidance, a faction that ended Seth Rollins' WrestleMania dream, that holds the World Tag Team Championships, that has been the most dominant corporate entity on the Monday Night Raw brand since Breaker's turn. Considering that the OTC has no love for Paul Heyman and the Vision, there is a possibility of a reunion between Reigns and Rollins against Heyman's group in the near future. If this happens, Roman and Seth might reform the Shield faction by replacing Dean Ambrose with WWE icon CM Punk. Naja Whisper, https://nyjawhisper.com/2026/03/17/brock-lesnar-is-in-lose-hyphen-until-he-retires, Paul Heyman. The man who managed both of them at different points. The man who knows their strengths and their weaknesses better than almost anyone in this company. The man who is currently directing Braun Breaker's every move with the same strategic precision he brought to Brock Lesnar's and Roman Reigns' championship reigns. The idea that Heyman, who spent years as Roman Reigns' Wiseman before the betrayal, now sits in the corner of the man most likely to stand across from Reigns in a championship match adds a layer of personal offense to this story that goes far beyond professional rivalry. Roman Reigns has 2 problems right now. Jacob Fatu, who will not acknowledge him, who puts him through tables, who operates outside every rule the tribal chief has ever used to control people. And the Vision, who carries Paul Heyman's fingerprints and whose World Tag Team Championships represent a power center on Raw that exists completely outside the first family's reach. Seth Rollins has 2 problems right now. Braun Breaker, who cost him WrestleMania twice and called him the best at being number 2. And the Vision, the same faction, the same people, the same Heyman-orchestrated machine that has been the specific instrument of everything Rollins lost this year. The Venn diagram of their enemies is a circle. They have the same targets. They have the same fury. They have the most historically loaded partnership in professional wrestling available to them. And both of them are smart enough, Roman Reigns with his cold, calculating tribal chief intelligence, Seth Rollins with his architect's mind for professional wrestling structure, to recognize that the most efficient path to their individual goals runs directly through a temporary, explosive, mutually beneficial alliance. Rollins and Reigns have been circling each other since their longtime feud. At last, Rollins defeated the only opponent he couldn't overcome and simultaneously proved himself as the superior world champion. Even more, he stopped Punk from claiming the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Beating Reigns in the biggest match of their rivalry was the final piece he needed. Call now, https://KLNow.com/www-WWE-Raw-Winners-March-30-202603. He has beaten Roman Reigns. He has proven he is Reigns' equal on the grandest stage. Which means standing beside Roman Reigns is no longer submission. It is no longer Rollins accepting a subordinate position in someone else's hierarchy. It is two former Shield brothers, two of the greatest performers of their generation, choosing each other not out of need but out of tactical brilliance. And when Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns walk through that curtain together toward Jacob Fatu and the Vision, it will not feel like a reunion born from desperation. It will feel like the two most dangerous forces on Monday Night Raw deciding that the rest of the roster does not deserve the luxury of fighting them separately. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, together, in 2026, against Jacob Fatu and the Vision. This is not just a tag match. This is the convergence of every major storyline on Monday Night Raw colliding in a single explosive moment that will redefine every championship, every alliance, and every power structure on the brand for the rest of the year. The Shield is not being reformed. Something new is being built. Something with all of the history and none of the rules. And Jacob Fatu and every member of the Vision should be losing sleep right now. Drop a comment right now. Do you want to see Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins team up to destroy Jacob Fatu and the Vision? And who do you think finally turns on the other when it inevitably falls apart? Share this video because this is the story that defines Monday Night Raw in 2026. I'm Wrestling News CC. The Shield is dead, but what replaces it might be even more